Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes? Matt here from YoVideogames, and I wanted to do a quick little follow-up video to the Google Stadia announcement, which got a big old press conference, live stream, yada yada, and that is to talk about the Apple Arcade. It seems like it would be a little unfair of me to cover the Google Stadia in some sort of reaction discussion video and not the Apple Arcade, and I wanted to just kind of go into this and say, look, this is a case of doing things right. Now, here's the thing. For those of you who are actually going to watch the video and not post a comment before fucking seeing anything and just off the title alone, let me just put it this way. I'm not interested in Apple Arcade. I'm never going to subscribe to it. I'm never going to play it. As far as I'm aware, Apple Arcade is exclusive to Apple products, meaning iPhones, iPads, and their new Apple TV Plus, whatever the fuck. So, I mean, I don't even have any of those devices, first of all. But second of all, I'm not playing any of these things on a touchscreen alone. Fuck that. So yeah, I'm not interested in anything they have to offer, but I just wanted to point out how this is a little bit more about how you announce your gaming streaming service. Now, we're in this era where all of a sudden everyone and their fucking mother and brother and cousin and, you know, whatever are all trying to announce a game streaming service. This was kind of inevitable. We kind of saw that with the Game Pass from Xbox. This is kind of going to be the future going forward. You know, you could even go so far as back to say, hey, OnLive did it and Game Tap even before that, but you know, those were kind of like false starts. Here now we are in this era of like, okay, now people are really jumping into it. So yeah, we saw Google Stadia, we saw Xbox talk more about their xCloud service, so that was like a day after Google Stadia, and here we are today, a day after Apple Arcade's announced, along with, you know, Apple jumping into their Netflix and credit card businesses and whatever. But I'm just going to focus on Apple Arcade, and the way they did it was pretty simple. They had two trailers. They released like a sizzle reel, and then sort of like a developer behind the scenes, or, you know, people we got to talk really, really highly about our product and make it look all hip and cool and shit. And, you know, honestly, I got to say this is the way to do it. You know, you show games, because that's something that Google Stadia just didn't fucking do, which was show fucking games. Now, the games they did show were mostly kind of the just indie variety. They weren't like something of the AAA style, and they weren't, you know, they weren't reviving Jet Set Radio. They weren't like reviving some long dormant IP everyone really wants back or something. They were just sort of like, okay, you know, these are like cool little indie games. Now, the cynic in me kind of looked at this and said, okay, they're kind of going after this sort of idea of, we're getting all these wonderful, amazing, mind-blowing experiences, and it's just indies who would never get published. That's kind of what they were talking about. A lot of the developers in their introducing Apple Arcade video were going off about, like, you know, we're making a game that would never be made if it wasn't for Apple Arcade. And I was kind of like, yeah, okay, kind of bullshit. Like, there's a lot of these games that exist already. The fact that visual novels have had a market and found a market recently tells you everything you need to know about independent game development. Has, you know, let us do all kinds of crazy things. So, but that being said, you know, the shilling aside, the games we did see were actually, they were okay. I like the, you know, we saw Beyond a Steel Sky remake come in. We saw an interesting... Okay, I'll just get right to it. The most interesting thing I saw was that they got the Gooch on board. And, of course, Sakaguchi's kind of been just a mobile developer for many years now, so it's not really surprising that they got him. It's just kind of nice to see they got him off his surfboard and making a brand new game, finally. So he's making a game called Fantasian, and it's basically, I consider it his Bravely Default or his Project Octopath style game. It's a title where they make 3D dioramas and photography, photograph them, and then they put the 3D CG, not CG, but the 3D polygonal character models on top of these 3D diorama photographs. So, you know, it makes this sort of little unique little thing. The character looks suspiciously a lot like the main character from Cry On, the canceled Xbox 360 game that Gooch was working on at one point. So, and then others have pointed out that some areas shown in the trailer for Fantasian actually look like a level from Terra Battle, which was a highly successful mobile game for the Gooch, unlike its sequel, the highly bombed Terra Battle 2. So, you know, maybe that's coming in maybe this is basically made from the scraps of that. But they also showed the Path List, which is one of my more anticipated games of the year. And then when they kind of focused on the director of Overland, you know, talking about her game, and that's kind of when I realized, like, yeah, they're kind of full of shit with some of these announcements. Like, Apple tried to make it seem like everything they were showing was an exclusive, and that's actually not true. The funny thing was, is we literally saw Overland a week ago on the Nindies Direct, so it's like, yeah, a lot of these things, even the people they got to come out and talk about stuff on camera, they were not exclusive games. These are titles that are going to appear on consoles, like Beyond Steel Sky. Well, buried in a tweet was the announcement of Shantae 5 from WayForward, which, you know, is going to get a lot of people excited. But it's coming to consoles and PC and Apple Arcade. And if you were quick enough, in one of the trailers, you actually saw like about a second of footage from Shantae 5 that WayForward confirmed was from the game. Which begs the question to me, I'm like, okay, so they have footage somewhere of Shantae. Why the fuck did WayForward announce Shantae 5 with just a tweet? That seems highly kind of just, unexciting. Why do it that way? I don't know. But that's them. I can't say to why that is. Maybe there's some deal with Apple where it was supposed to be, hey, Apple was going to announce it as an exclusive, but they only used a second of footage, so they just went to Twitter and said, by the way, yes, that's the new Shantae. So that's the only thing I can guess at this point. But yeah, this is how you do it. You show games from known game creators. You basically, I mean, the most disingenuous thing about this, I feel, is the fact that Apple kind of tried to play this off as a big bunch of exclusives when they're not. The Gooch's game is probably going to be an exclusive, sadly. I can't imagine, it showing up otherwise, considering his past. He hasn't made a console game, I don't think, since the last story on the Wii. So that's, yeah, it's been like getting on to close to 10 years now. So, I don't know. It'd be nice if someone, maybe a third party or a smaller studio could come in and say, hey, can we do like a Switch port for this? So that would be great, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I want it to happen, just because, last story was pretty good, and Sakaguchi is a man who knows how to finish a game, and I would like to, at least take it for a ride. But yeah, that's all I really gotta say about Apple Arcade. It's obviously going to be going for, mostly Apple customers, and that's obviously a much more casual style audience, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. A lot of parents who have figured out, like, I don't need to pay a babysitter, just give my kid my iPhone for a while I go do my adulting, which, you'll see if you just pay attention to anything in real life anymore. Like, this is perfect for them. They have Apple Arcade. Now, the other thing I gotta point out, though, Apple kind of learned a bit from Google's mistakes, where Google didn't really say how the subscription or anything would work. They didn't even say if it was a subscription for Google Stadia. Apple came out and was a lot more clear in what it is, and they're like, okay, look, it is subscription based. You can have up to 6 accounts on one device, or one account, like for a family. You can do a family of 6. You will be able to play the games offline. That was kind of like the biggest thing about it, was that Apple is offering, sort of in a way, ownership of the games on the Apple Arcade. Is that you can download the games and you can play them offline, which is a huge fucking win for Apple over Stadia, because Stadia depends entirely on your fucking internet connection, and that is kind of the biggest fucking thing. And it's shared by a lot of people were saying too, is that, yeah, and no one's really convinced of Google Stadia working because of their internet connection, because of their ISPs, and I don't blame them one fucking iota, because it's like, look, like that's going to kill Stadia. At least with Apple, they came out the gate and said, look, you can download and play them offline. So huge advantage there for them on that. So this was the right way to do it, but it does nothing to convince me, because I will never fucking play a video game solely from a touchscreen. That is no bueno for me. So let me know what you guys think, and I will see you on the channel later, dudes.